This right here. This right here. This right here.
Check 1, 2.
Frank, with your guest this morning, I'd like to know if there's any fixed rates for the utilities in this area. And what I don't want to hear is the government assistance. I didn't work 45 years to beg the government to heat my house. Thank you. Bye.
Good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Couple quick announcements coming up on the program. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano will be our guest. Also, I'm very excited about this as well. On Tuesday, right after Iowa, obviously the vote is on Monday. We've been talking a lot about it. Well, on Tuesday, our special guest will be former Congressman Joe Sempolinski, and we'll dissect everything that we learn after that vote. So that'll be on Tuesday. Let's start, and I know we're going to talk quickly about the United States and the United Kingdom launching a retaliatory strike against the Houthis in Yemen. Democrats not necessarily happy with the president right now. It obviously raises some concerns, too, with Lloyd Austin and just coming up on an election year, what this means. But first, this is from a viewer yesterday after the program. Good day, Frank. The more I learn of Nikki Haley, the more I trust my instincts. We can't take anything for granted in this election year. We can't leave anything to chance, and we need to get out and vote, preferably in person. But we cannot rely on polls. I think they're largely meaningless and set up to mislead and discourage. I would agree with that. I think what I've been saying, and I could be proved wrong. I don't make predictions necessarily, but I think what we'll see on Tuesday is if Nikki Haley sees any type of bump, any little bit more than maybe was expected, it'll be a huge victory for Haley. If Trump gets anything less than, probably 70%, they'll say it's a huge loss for Trump. DeSantis, I kind of leave out of the mix because DeSantis could have a good day in Iowa. The voters tend to align more with his beliefs. So if there are voters out there that say, well, I don't want what comes with Trump, I may go with DeSantis, so that hurts Trump. And then again, and that puts momentum, let's say, in Nikki Haley, because they'll tell us, look what the polls are showing in New Hampshire. Look what she's doing. I have here 2 or 3 stories this morning. One, Peggy Noon. I'm not going to mention what she said other than it looks like maybe both parties are going to pick the wrong person, meaning Biden and Trump. But there is a pathway for Nikki Haley. And then we have how Nikki Haley just might beat Donald Trump, according to Politico magazine. Don't be so certain Trump has the nomination locked up. These are the kind of articles that come out right before Iowa, for instance. And also you see anonymous sources quoting people in the know that DeSantis could drop out after Iowa, and then that becomes a common knowledge. That's not good PR for DeSantis. Whether it's true or not, you don't want that coming out right before Iowa, because what do people in Iowa say? Well, I was going to vote for DeSantis, but if he's going to drop out, why would I waste my vote? So it's all politics, folks, as you know by now. But that's why you start to see more and more of these articles, because there was a little criticism of Hallie for a small window. It has been building her up, small window of criticism now, how she might do it. Contrary to conventional wisdom, says Politico, Nikki Haley doesn't have to win New Hampshire or even South Carolina. She just has to keep it close enough to keep donors and voters convinced there might be a real nomination fight and move forward. In an unstable, unconventional time, it's not inconceivable to imagine a scenario in which the bottom suddenly fell out for the former president and a rival ambushes him on his way to the GOP convention in Milwaukee, like Nikki Haley. And you know, I'm not criticizing Nikki Haley at all. I like Nikki Haley. But as to that viewer's comment, when you start to see the media tell us how great she is and how she's the only chance of Republicans winning, that's when I just hearken back to Romney, McCain, Jeb Bush, you name it. Also complicating Iowa on Monday is a record-breaking cold they are expecting. Iowa Republicans will likely confront temperatures dipping below 0 degrees Fahrenheit when they kick off the election cycle. A record-breaking forecast that might complicate candidates' hopes of making their own history, if the cold depresses voter turnout. So there you go. A couple quick updates on Iowa. Yes, the U.S. and the United Kingdom launched a retaliatory strike against the Houthis in Yemen. We'll talk about that if we have a moment. I know we're waiting on Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, who will be in at any moment. So stay with us. It's time for our first break. This is Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
If you struggle to keep up with conversations, if you have trouble hearing the TV or radio, Nano Hearing Aids wants to help you hear better. Because when you hear better, you're actually going to feel better and live a happier, even healthier life. And Nano Hearing Aids is offering not one, but 2 very special, possibly once-in-a-lifetime offers. Special offer number 1, when you buy any Nano OTC hearing aid, Nano will give you a pair of personal sound amplifiers, absolutely free. If you have a little trouble hearing but don't need a hearing aid, these are great. Special offer 2. Today, Nano is offering an amazing deal on their CIC Recharge OTC hearing aids. Today, you can order a full pair of completely in-canal Recharge OTC hearing aids for only $297. Plus, Nano offers great financing. Payments from only $26.81 a month, 88 cents a day. But supplies are limited, so call now.
1-800-219-0286. 1-800-219-0286.
We are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. We're going to be joined by Assemblyman Phil Palmisano in just a moment. Again, a reminder, everybody calls them election headquarters. Well, we're your election kind of war room, if you want to think of it that way, because on Tuesday we will have former Congressman Joe Sempolinski. So he'll be joining us on Tuesday to dissect everything that happened in Iowa. Our Assemblyman is here. Go ahead and sit down, Phil. I've just got to catch up on a couple things. We'll take another break, and then we'll start right on. I mentioned the retaliatory strike in Yemen. There's some criticism here, according to CNN, because the president acted after both Nikki Haley and DeSantis criticized him for being too slow. Also, you have the Lloyd Austin issue, who remains in the hospital following complications after surgery from prostate cancer. Austin is at the center of a political storm after it emerged that he had been at Walter Reed and did not let the White House know. So was that what the delay on this retaliatory strike? is seen as. Also, many Democrats, you can find this in the New York Post, Democrats are fuming after Biden ordered the airstrike without congressional approval. That is an unacceptable violation of the Constitution. But we have to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Wow, you found it.
I did.
The History of Water Part 6? I've been dying to read this.
I know, honey.
I always wanted that book.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install one of our high-efficiency water softeners, we're thinking about hard water and limescale buildup, so you can just think about longer-lasting appliances and softer skin and hair. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
If you struggle to keep up with conversations, if you have trouble hearing the TV or radio, Nano Hearing Aids wants to help you hear better. Because when you hear better, you're actually going to feel better and live a happier, even healthier life. And Nano Hearing Aids is offering not one, but two very special, possibly once-in-a-lifetime offers. Special offer number one, when you buy any Nano OTC hearing aid, Nano will give you a pair of personal sound amplifiers absolutely free. If you have a little trouble hearing but don't need a hearing aid, these are great. Special offer two, today Nano is offering an amazing deal on their CIC Recharge OTC hearing aids. Today you can order a full pair of completely in-canal Recharge OTC hearing aids for only $297. Plus, Nano offers great financing. Payments from only $26.81 a month. That's around 88 cents a day. But supplies are limited, so call now.
1-800-759-6001.
The Nano CIC Recharge OTC hearing aids are extremely easy to use, and they're nearly invisible. And since they're completely in canal, nothing shows on the back of your ear. So most people will never even see them. And today you can purchase a pair of fully rechargeable CIC Recharge OTC hearing aids for only $297. This is one amazing deal, but Nano has a second incredible deal. Because when you buy a Nano CIC Recharge at the low price of $297, Nano will give you a pair of Nano personal sound amplifiers free. So you'll get both a pair of OTC hearing aids and a pair of personal sound amplifiers for only $297. That's $297 for both. Payments on the CIC Recharge start at $26.81 a month. That's 88 cents a day. But remember, supplies are limited. Once they're gone, this offer is gone and will not be repeated. So call now.
1-800-759-6001. 1-800-759-6001.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And I'm being joined by Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Frank. Good to be with you.
Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year.
Boy, it went quick last year, didn't it?
It sure did.
Here we are, presidential year.
Yeah, it's been a good year.
We're not going to get into that. We've got a lot to talk about. So, state of the state, what did you think overall? I was talking to Sheriff Allard yesterday. I saw the New York Post said there's a glimmer of hope, but they still gave it a 1.5 star.
Well, I don't follow the New York Times.
No, Post.
Oh,
1.5 star. Yeah, 1.5
I can agree
star.
with that. So
Yeah.
sorry about that, Phil.
No,
That's
yeah.
watchers.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, the governor gives her annual State of the State,
Mm-hmm.
kind of outline her goals for the upcoming session. For me and for many of my colleagues, it's really what happens this upcoming week when
That's
she
the big
presents her budget, to see the details on how she's going to pay for things, what the budget situation looks like. I will say, there are a couple of things she brought up that I was very supportive of.
Mm-hmm.
Her mentioning is certainly number one, the issue with mental health. I mean,
Yes.
we have a serious mental health problem, accessibility and affordability. We saw that. I'm really concerned about, especially our kids in our schools.
Yes.
More we can do to reach our kids in our schools. I mean, COVID certainly exacerbated the problem and made it much more worse with everything that went along with that. So I think we really need to have a focus on mental health. So that I was really happy to hear her talk about. The other thing that I really actually was the first one to applaud, and which in the chamber, was she said she wanted to empower local law enforcement to shut down
Yes, the sticker store.
these sticker stores, which are a scourge in our local communities. So, many of my colleagues on the Democratic side of the aisle didn't want to have penalties in there for those issues. They just want to allow the Office of Cannabis Management to deal with the closures, and they don't have the staff, they don't have the wherewithal.
It's not
Whereas
working.
if we can let the the Corning PD, go in, if there's a sticker store pop up, go in and shut it down. That's what we need to do, empower them. We need to make really strong penalties. That's the legislation we had that we did the press release with the sheriffs and local officials last year.
Well, as Sheriff Allard was saying yesterday, he's called and said, I will do this for you. Just just empower me. So I'm glad. And I just saw another thing in the Post today, that there's one legal marijuana store in New York City surrounded by 30 illegal shops.
Yes.
I mean, we could not have handled this rollout more poorly.
And we said there was going to be problems with it, but they were trying to rush it through, and so it's very problematic. But if this goes through, this would be a very positive thing to deal with this issue. Really help, I think, a little bit more of the quality of life, so these sticker stores don't just keep popping up on Market Street or wherever it may be.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. It's really terrible.
I was glad that I was glad to see her mention shoplifting. It seems almost a little bit too late, and also there's no with bail reform and things. There's no penalty. Right. So is this all just kind of window dressing and trying to make it look like she's tough on crime?
The problem is, she wants this task force to deal with it.
Right.
But when it comes to increasing penalties for these crimes, they don't want to do that to make sure that great that they're eligible. But what is the tougher penalties for these crimes so that it be a deterrent as well? Mm-hmm. And that's the problem we see with the criminal justice policy that they continue to be coming out of the state by the progressive legislature and this governor who goes along with them. Not enough teeth, not enough providing tools and resources to our law enforcement to keep our communities safe. And I think that's one of the problems with the overall situation in New York State. The governor said it herself.
Yes.
The number one responsibility of a government is to keep her citizens safe. And New York is failing drastically at that. I mean, you see it from the bail discovery, the raise the age, all these laws wanting to reform parole and make it easier for people to get out of prison. So things like that that we continue to see. So, and I think that really kind of spins into the other part of the state of the state. I mean, I said in my comments, I go, we're facing an affordability crisis, a public safety crisis, and a quality of life crisis. We have to, when we go into the budget next week, we're looking at over a $4 billion budget deficit for this year that we need to deal with, $21 billion over 3 years. And you can't continue this. We really can't continue down this pathway of an unsustainable and out of control spending, job killing, costly taxes and regulations, continuation of inflation, which continues to stress our families, and we see the crime in our streets. All of these things have led to our nation leading out migration.
101,000.
101,000 this year, and according to census, since 2020, 500,000 people. These are small businesses. These are families, and we wonder. And along with that comes a loss of tax revenue. I remember seeing a report by Reuters in 2020 said in New York City. Because what you're already hearing, with the budget deficit, tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the wealthy.
I was just going to bring that up.
Which is just going to leave them more leaving the state. And the statistic still sticks out at me. In 2020, in New York City, I believe it was New York, 3.57 million New Yorkers left with an average income of $140,000, were replaced by 3.5 million New Yorkers with an average income of $80,000. So that was a net loss of 70,000 people.
Yeah.
But the bigger number is a net loss of $34 billion in taxable income. That's not a sustainable pathway. We can't tax the rich. They already pay more than their fair share, and it's just going to discourage more and more people from staying here and leaving the state.
Did you see that poll? We spent almost a whole show on it, where people said they want to tax the rich in New York State, even though they know it'll lead to the millionaire migration. So they know it's going to ultimately hurt the state, but it's almost like a gotcha game. I saw this on Empire Report this morning, but it's actually from USA Today. And this is so unbelievable. The fix to New York's budget deficit is obvious and popular. Tax the ultra rich. Do you like now that it's ultra rich, not just rich?
They want to go on things like your savings and your investments, and what you might make out of it. It really doesn't make any much sense from my perspective, and it's just really not good economics and sound policy, and it's just going to really continue this drain of people leaving our state, our small businesses, our farmers, our manufacturers, and that's what I'm concerned about. You see it with all the policies that are keeping coming through the pipeline.
If you were ultra rich, what is keeping you here?
Nothing.
Right. I mean,
you go to Florida and have a 0% income tax, or Nevada or Tennessee, and here, you're paying over 10%. Yeah. And people, their proposals to increase the tax rate to over, for $5 million to like 10.8% from 10.3%, and 11.4% for those over 25 million. That might sound like it can work. Right. But wouldn't you rather have 10.3% of 5 million? Than 10.8% of zero?
Exactly.
And that's the bad policy that you can see, and that's also ultimately going to translate down to higher taxes for everyday folks. Higher taxes at the pump, higher taxes for property taxes, income taxes, and it's going to impact their quality of life.
And as these people leave, and that's what was so discouraging about that poll, as these people leave, it's not as if Albany's going to rein in spending. It's going to be put on our backs.
Just from the
people
last,
that stay.
We at a town hall meeting last night, Tom O'Mara brought this up, we brought this up. In 2018, we lost control of the state Senate. And we went from a 32-31 majority to a 40-23 minority overnight.
Yeah.
And after that happened, spending has increased 40%. The budget has increased by $60 billion since the Senate turned Democrat and one-party control in Albany. So it's unsustainable, out of control spending. The budget we passed last year was $229 billion. And people forget, I mean, this COVID money that was an influx into our state and other states is going away. So what's going to happen? How's that going to be replaced? You expect us just to keep writing checks? No, it can't happen and it can't work.
No. We got to take another short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Stay tuned to get this 5-piece bakeware set, a $60 value, absolutely free. Tired of that pan that always sticks? It's so scratched and worn, you can't cook in it.
Hi, Chef Daniel Green here with my new hammered pans from Gotham Steel. This complete 9-piece set is guaranteed to beautify your kitchen like never before.
Gosh, what I love most about this design is this hammered copper look. It would just look so fantastic hanging in my kitchen.
Wow, this is a beautiful pan. It looks great. Look at those eggs dancing around in there. I tell you, I'm sold. Where do I get these? I love them.
Hammered pans are ultra non-stick. Nothing sticks. Even gooey mac and cheese slips out with ease. And look, these sticky candies melted with a torch are no match for hammered pans. Plus, they're super durable, so use metal beaters straight in the pan for a gourmet souffle that slips out and a pan that looks just like new. They're even oven safe up to 500 degrees. So bake homemade chicken pot pie, cheesy lasagna, or this whole chicken dinner. Any recipe looks great in these pans. From steak flambe to delicious desserts and delicate fish, nothing sticks. Plus, the entire set is dishwasher safe and PFOA free.
Similar sets are over $1,000, but you won't pay that. Not $500 or even $300. Get the full 9-piece Gotham Steel hammered set for just 5 payments of $49.99, and we'll even ship it to you free. But order now and we'll drop 1 payment. That's just 4 payments of $49.99, and we'll even guarantee it for a full 10 years. Plus, we'll include this free steamer and strainer, and our 5-piece bakeware set with every pan you'll ever need to make delicious breads, cakes, and desserts. Together, these are an $80 value, yours 100% free. That's a huge 15-piece set with free shipping. Call or click now.
To order, call 1-800-603-3404 or go to buyhammered.com. That's 1-800-603-3404, or you can order online at buyhammered.com. We are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. We're being joined by Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. Phil, yesterday, this is something we've talked about a little bit in the past, but we want to focus a lot on energy on today's program. Tell us about your meeting that you had yesterday with the school board for the electric school buses. How'd that go?
It was pretty well attended. The Camp El Savona School District reached out to Senator O'Mara and myself, Assemblyman Giglio, and asked us if we would come to a school board meeting and talk about the issues pertaining to electric school buses.
Good for them.
It's a mandate
for being ahead of it.
Yes, because this is a I talk about this energy policy in the state being a runaway freight train. This one is really a runaway, and it's coming upon our school districts faster than anyone realizes. In the budget of 2022, basically they put a mandate in place that said every new school bus that's purchased beginning in July 2027 had to be a zero-emission school bus, which is basically an electric school bus.
Yeah.
And on top of it, they would have to convert their whole entire school bus fleet by 2035. And this is kind of mind-blowing to me from the fact that the state of New York isn't required to convert their heavy-duty fleet until 2040. They're said they're going to convert their light-duty fleet by 2035. in the state of New York, also, we initially had benchmarks in there saying, okay, by 2025, 25% of your vehicles had to be electric. By 2030, 50% had to be electric. And then by 2035, 100%. They took away those benchmarks, other than keeping it, so they can do it at their own timeline and pace and see how the technology develops. But we're saying to school districts, now you need to have every new school bus purchased by 2027. Well, let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Right now, a new school bus, diesel school bus, which is the general school bus that most schools use, costs about $125,000, maybe $150,000 with bells and whistles.
Sure.
An electric school bus costs anywhere from $400,000 to $450,000.
Wow.
And I mean, that's mind blowing. And when these are approved by the voters.
Yeah.
I mean, when I went to vote in the Corning school vote this year, I remember I think it was over $800,000 for multiple school buses.
Yeah.
Here we'd be talking about, they're going to say $800,000 to purchase two school buses.
Two school buses.
Who's going to approve that? And the fear I have, and this came up, are they going to take away the right of the citizens to vote on that purchase?
That's a great question.
It's really the mother of all unfunded mandates that we talked about. And we're just talking about school bus purchases. There's about 50,000 school buses in the state of New York. Wow. I mean, you're talking about billions upon billions of dollars. And some estimates with everything else, you got the charging stations, $8 to $15 billion this would cost. And the state of New York saying, oh, yeah, we're going to help. We put out a $500 million bond. There's a $4.2 billion environmental bond act that was passed. $500 million is earmarked for schools. That's not even.
They'll breeze through that. Yeah.
Even with the federal government, it doesn't even begin to come close. It's going to be borne by the local property taxpayer. So it's not just the school buses. You have to implement the charging stations. I mean, that's a significant cost, millions of dollars. Garages, new bus garages that you're going to need to deal with.
Mechanics, that's a more specialized.
Yes, and you're going to need bus drivers. And there are other things, even by the New York State Association of Pupil Transportation said you're going to need more bus drivers, and you're going to need more buses because they, these range issues that they have.
Right.
I mean, look at the state. Steuben County's got 1,400 square miles. It's bigger than the state of Rhode Island. This is going to be very challenging. I mean, what about transporting our kids to state championships or to
it's got to be the end of travel sports.
They're going to need more buses. It's going to be more costly. So that's one part of it. So you got the school bus purchases themselves, not to let alone the range issues that you have with these issues. I mean, if you turn on the heat, turn on the air conditioner, that drains the battery.
Sure, of course.
They don't need to charge it 100%. They want it to be 80%, and all these things impact them, and it's not proven really.
Yeah.
So then you have the charging station. And the other thing is getting the power to the school. One school district, Horseheads, I know they were quoted just to bring the power from the main line into the school district would cost the school district $10 million. Wow. That's being paid. That would be paid for by the property taxes of the Horseheads school district. That's not appropriate. That's crippling. That's damaging. How are they supposed to do that?
At a time, going back to our original point, when we're struggling in New York,
we're already struggling. This is
imagine getting that tax bill.
And that's the other thing I said about this is just one aspect of the whole Green New Deal energy policy, but this is very concerning. I mean, we talked about the batteries, and I've talked about these batteries. I mean, they're battery fires, the lithium-ion batteries.
Yeah,
you see it
heaven
happening
forbid
in New York
with
City.
School bus.
Yes, you see it happening in New York City with the lithium-ion scooters. You see it with vehicles, electric vehicles. They catch on fire. They're hot and they burn long. And then you could have it with a school bus. I mean, how much time are you going to have to get a kid off? I mean, I'm very, very scared about this pathway. And it's just a move all to go green, and it's not so much green. But it's all part of this whole energy plan.
Well, it's green.
Yeah.
It's green.
Yeah, the only thing, that's the only thing I said. The only thing green about this green energy is what it's going to cost you in increased rates for your utility bills, increased tax dollars, and increased other costs for purchases you need to, electrify your home, electrify your homes, your vehicles, everything.
Yeah, I mean, this is all on our back. At a time when Governor Hochul somewhat addressed it in her State of the State, which is the mass exodus of people, how is this going to help? I mean, how many times have you got your tax bill and you thought, Pennsylvania's looking okay, or wherever, But now you add this kind of on top of it?
It's amazing. I mean, she said in her budget she wants to address the affordability crisis.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of talking on one side of her mouth when my Democratic colleagues in the Assembly and Senate continue down this dangerous and reckless path of this radical energy climate agenda, which basically puts affordability and reliability to the sidelines, and basically it's a march towards full electrification. It takes away people's choice on how they heat their home, dry their clothes, cook their food, their gas stoves. A lot of people happen to power your buildings and the vehicle you drive, and that's why I don't understand this pathway. People don't like it. Hey, listen, let them market. One of the questions: why can't the market determine this? If a school district wants to buy electric school buses, God bless them.
Yeah.
If the listener out there wants to buy an electric vehicle, good.
No one's stopping them.
No one's stopping them. But don't mandate that we have to do it. I mean, you're talking about where you're going to put the charging stations around. Not everyone has a garage, and then how are you going to handle that process? I mean, it's just
and the grid can't handle this.
The grid can't handle it.
No.
I mean, I think NYSEG's told one of the schools it would take 7 years just to bring the power in. And we were talking to one of the consultants who we talked last night. They said one school district is building a garage, multi-million dollars, putting in charging outlets, but the utilities told them they can't bring the power to it for 7 years. But they're trying to get ahead of it because it's a mandate that's on the horizon. And who can blame them? And that's the thing. We need to pump the brakes on this. And it's full speed ahead. And why? And Senator Romero are putting forth legislation we could address this. And why? To delay it. I mean, because right now you don't have to purchase heavy-duty vehicle, electric vehicles till 2045. The light duty begins at 2035 for new, but yet that's why I'm kind of puzzled with the state saying the school districts have to do their whole entire heavy-duty school bus fleet by 2035.
Is it like a test to see, you know what I mean, almost like a beta test to see how this goes before they switch at the state?
But it should be the other way.
No, I agree.
It's just mind-blowing to me. So this is all part of this Green New Deal. They call it the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, but it's really Green New Deal for New York. And the part of that plan that was passed in 2019, that was one of the first bills they passed under the one house, one party control.
Yeah.
And basically, the goals, the benchmark is say by 2030, 70% of your electricity generation had to be renewable.
Yeah.
That's attainable. Where it gets more complicated is by 2040, it says that all your generation has to be net zero emissions. So that basically means no fossil fuel generation, no natural gas. And the fact of the matter is 60% of the people in New York State heat their homes with natural gas. 40% of our generation comes from natural gas. So how do we move down that pipeline? So this is going to be a tremendous impact. And people say, well, we need to move this. It's costly. And here are the things that I talk about. I have 8 points I talk about when I talk about this issue. Number one, the impact. What impact are we going to make? And I've never said, my colleagues have never said we shouldn't invest in renewable technology. Right. We should, and we are. But it should be a balanced portfolio. We need fuel diversity. Yes, we should be investing in wind, solar, and hydro, but we also should need to be investing in natural gas and nuclear. Those types of things are base load generation that can help provide reliable energy. And you have a fuel diversity to balance and protect your investment. Just like your 401k, you don't put it on stocks, cash, and bonds. You diversify to protect it. So have some fuel diversity. But what about the impact? New York contributes 0.4% of total global emissions. 0.4. China contributes 29%, has 1,000 coal plants, and building more. We'll kind of put that in perspective. China also announced this year that they were expanding their coal generating capacity by 70 gigawatts. 70 gigawatts. And for the listener, 1 gigawatt is the equivalent of powering 750,000 homes.
Okay.
Now, New York's total generating capacity, including nuclear and natural gas, hydro, solar, and wind, is 41 gigawatts. So think of China's expanding their coal capacity by 70 gigawatts, and that's almost double New York's total generating capacity. So, and then if you want to add in, India's 7% and China and Russia's 4%. 40% between those three, but New York's 0.4. So this plan only affects New York. It doesn't affect China, India, Russia. It certainly doesn't affect Pennsylvania, Ohio, Tennessee, North Carolina. So we're going to be putting this burden on our taxpayers, our ratepayers, our businesses, and manufacturers. And I think this is one thing that's going to continue to lead to more of the out-migration.
It's just virtue signaling.
It is
from
virtue
Albany.
signaling.
And it's just they want to look like we're doing something. It's almost going back to what we said about the cannabis shops. We want to look like we're doing something, but we're not doing it right.
No. And the thing that really is mind-boggling to me, me, Frank, as I've said about this issue to watchers of your show, all they talk about is green, renewable. They don't talk about costs and affordability.
No.
And some of the costs, just for the listeners, for the watchers, excuse me, I keep
That's
saying
okay. That's all right.
The CLCPA that we passed in 2019, part of the language in it said it uses a 20-year methodology to determine emissions. When you measure the emissions, when you deal with what type of programs you're going to put in place to pay for all this that needs to be done. Every other state in the nation uses 100 years. The United States uses 100 years. International code says 100 years. If we do not, and of course last year around budget time, after the budget was released, the two champions of this, the Climate Action Council, Doreen Harris, the president of NYSERDA, and Basil Sagos, the commissioner of DEC, who are the two leaders of the Climate Action Council, putting these plans together to talk about, you know, what we're going to do to get to net zero.
Yeah.
They were out there for Governor Hochul saying we need to make a change to this methodology to 100 years.
Yeah.
They instantly ran into a roadblock. I hope the governor puts this in her budget, because if she puts it in her budget up the front, it can make a difference. But for the watcher, if we do not change this methodology to 100-year to match every other state and to match international, it is projected by the state's own numbers that it will increase prices at the pump by 63 cents a gallon and natural gas heating costs by 80%, right off the top.
Wow.
So even if we go to the 100-year, you're still going to see increases because of how it works out. But it'll be about half of that, and that's still significant from my perspective. So, and even if you change the methodology, it's not going to change the mandates that they're going down. It's just the methodology. But you have these environmental radical advocates. We can't wait 100 years. Like, the world's going to fall apart. I mean, so that's
because
one
of
cost.
that. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
The conversion costs. If you want to convert your homeowner from natural gas, if you know, because there were pushes to say just for existing homeowners, if you want to. If you, by 2030, if your boiler, natural gas boiler, or furnace were to go, they're going to say they wanted to say you can't replace it. They didn't do that, but there are still ways they're trying to do it through regulations.
Yeah, of course.
It would cost you more than $35,000 to convert your home from natural gas to electrification for using heat pumps, whether a geothermal heat pump or an air source heat pump. So there's so many air source heat pumps are a little more affordable than the geothermal heat pumps, but you need backup sources. They don't work as well in the really cold climate temperatures.
Yeah.
So that's $35,000. We talked about the 63 cents a gallon, 80%, $35,000. The Public Service Commission earlier this year already pre-approved future rate hikes to the tune of $43 billion for ratepayers to pay for these green energy credits. $43 billion.
Where's this money coming from, Phil?
Well, it's going to come from the ratepayers. It's going to come from the
but I mean, you can only milk a stone. You know, you can't milk a stone.
And you wonder why these businesses are going to leave. And we talked about the school bus costs already. Yeah. NYSEG was going through a utility rate. You know, they got approved for nearly 30% rate hike. Part of that rate hike is to pay for all these mandates they're going through, to pay for their infrastructure. I mean, this is unsustainable. So that's cost and affordability.
Yes, and I want to talk when I got to take a break, but I want to talk because I kind of hinted towards it earlier, but the reliability factor of it too, because with the grid. But stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's Hot Tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Emerald here, and I'm so excited to tell you about my French door air fryer 360. Extra large 26-quart capacity. Cook with up to 70% less calories from fat than deep frying. That's a big deal, my friend. 360 degrees of superheated air gives you fast, even cooking. My 10-in-1 French door air fryer 360 grills, air fries, dehydrates, roasts, bakes, broils, proofs, slow cooks, and toasts. This baby does it all. These French doors are a game changer. Look at how easy that is.
Now find out how you can try Emeril Lagasse's French Door Air Fryer 360 with 3 cooking tiers, fetch tool, air frying rack, and drip tray in your home for 30 days for just $14.99.
Order now and you'll also get Emeril's Air Fryer Favorites recipe book. And we'll automatically upgrade you to our bonus cooking kit free. Plus, find out how you can get free shipping. This offer will not last, so call or click now to order.
You're gonna love it. I guarantee it.
Get ready for Super Wildcard Weekend on Fox. The next chapter in this historic rivalry is set. Dak leads the boys in a legacy-defining game against Love and the Packers. Packers, Cowboys, Sunday at 4 Eastern on Fox. All part of Super Wildcard Weekend.
Shell Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the Battle of Twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon. Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
We are back, and frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV Big Fox. We have our guest assemblyman Phil Palmisano. Before we get back into energy policy, I did receive this from a viewer. How much of the budget is focused on the illegal immigrants? The state paid $15,000 to each illegal immigrant that reported they paid taxes. Where in the budget is there room for such things?
Well, I'm not sure where there's room in the budget for these things, but last year, the budget, we'll know more about this when the budget comes out next week, what the plan is, what her proposal is. She didn't really talk about it during her State of the State last week or this week, so she got some criticism for that. But again, a lot of these policies we have to see what comes out in the budget. But last year's budget put in place $1 billion to provide $1 billion in assistance to New York City to deal with the migrant issue, and then of course Marriott tried to ship them upstate New York. So while they contracted with a no-bid contract company that had problems and issues with that, but we'll see a little bit more on that. But this is going to be a problem for sure that's going to strain our budget, and we're already facing a $4+ billion budget deficit this year. And you know the New York City folks, legislators are going to be pushing for more money for that. So which means our tax dollars are going to go to support illegal immigration. This is really falls back to a failure of the president to lead and secure the border.
And we'll have you on after the budget, because that'll be also this. One other comment from a viewer. I'd like to see Phil's Fridays as a regular show right here on the program. And no, this is not his mother, LOL. So, see, you're going to be a regular guest. Between you and Joe Sempolinski, I'm not going to have a show anymore. All right, let's get back to energy. We talked about it with reliability, and I think that's the scariest part, and I've quoted you a lot on this program, that it's not even hyperbole, that this will ultimately, unfortunately, lead to death.
I believe so. And
I don't understand.
I don't want to be alarmist.
Exactly.
It's in the numbers. I mean, the New York Independent System Operators, who's be tasked with making sure the lights stay on, the power stays on, they monitor the wholesale market, monitor how the grid's working. And they've already signaled really concerns regarding the thinness and the reliability margins, especially in New York City, that they talk about possible future blackouts. They want to get rid of fossil fuel, huge natural gas, peaker plants, and that's a concern from my perspective in the immediate. But what this also does from the reliability perspective is right now our peak energy demand season is the summertime because of the high use of air conditions. With the mandates for electric vehicles, with the push for electric heat pumps, you're going to switch that whole energy demand to the wintertime.
Yeah.
When people are trying to heat their homes and stay warm. Look what happened in Buffalo last year, where 40+ people lost their lives in a storm. I mean, can you imagine relying on electric heat to heat your home? I mean, it's just mind-blowing to me. So it's very concerning. But if you want to get to a bigger perspective of the reliability for future years, here's one of the biggest things. The NISO has also said by 2040, to meet these mandates, to meet these goals of zero emissions, that's 2040 is a net zero generation.
Yeah.
You need 27 to 45 gigawatts of dispatchable emission-free resources. 27 to 45 gigawatts. Now, our whole generating capacity now is 41. So we need up to 45 gigawatts of dispatchable. Now, keep in mind, dispatchable is not wind and solar. That's intermittent. It only works when the sun shines or the wind blows. So it's not dispatchable. And so what's this technology that's going to replace this by 2040? It does not yet exist. They haven't identified it. They haven't proven it. They haven't tracked it. We don't know what it's going to be. And anything that has a fossil fuel base to it, that the advocates, the climate guys said it can't be that. It can't be that. You just need wind and solar, but you need just reliable energy. So we don't know about renewable natural gas, biodiesel, renewable propane, carbon capture and sequestration, hydrogen, all those things. What's going to be the process that we're going to use to get to that? And that's the concern I have. So 27 to 45 gigawatts, when it doesn't exist, I mean, think about it. We're tearing down our whole energy infrastructure before we have the new one in place. Do we tear down a bridge before we build a new one? No, we do not. But that's what this governor, that's what my colleagues in the Democrat-controlled legislature are doing. They're tearing down our existing energy infrastructure, our reliable energy infrastructure that utilizes natural gas, that needs natural gas, to shut it down so they can get to meet this green ideology. And it doesn't make any sense to me. So this is 27 to 45 gigawatts
Yeah.
of reliable, dispatchable, emission-free resource, and it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
I don't understand it. And that's just on the reliability perspective.
Exactly.
But this is also, according to NISO, requires a massive, tremendous build out of the grid. I mean, to meet the electric vehicle, to meet the charging stations, to meet the electric heat pumps and everything else.
What's
we need
the
to build
cost?
out the grid. Yeah, the cost.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's like a come as you go, but it's going to need 124 gigawatts of additional capacity. Triple our current capacity, 41 gigawatts. And 80 to 90% of that's got to be renewable.
Yeah.
And that's mind-blowing to me. I mean, again, it's the cost of this, and it's already being passed on. You see it in your utility bills. The Champlain Hudson Express to bring hydro from Quebec down to New York City. We have the Clean Path that's up in upstate New York. This is trying to be designed to bring transmission from our renewable projects in upstate New York to take it down to New York City.
Right.
Because 90% of our generation upstate New York is already emission-free. 90% of the generation downstate is fossil fuel. And they had the brilliant idea for political reasons to shut down Indian Point that provided 25% of the power to New York City, reliable source of energy that went 24/7, because that's what dispatchable means, going 24/7.
Right.
Emission dispatchable would not. Wind and solar is not that, and the capacity of wind and solar doesn't work all the time. So it might be a 25 megawatt, but it only works for 25 to 30% of the time. You're not working. So that massive build out and reliability is very, very concerning to me.
And I do think too, people should realize, and I don't want to keep sounding like a broken record, but we're talking rural areas that we live in. So if we lose power, we've all lost power, and we know how inconvenient that is. But imagine now that you're depending on that for your heat in the middle of the cold winter. You're depending on it for now everything that in the old days, if you lost power, you could still start your gas stove and cook. Now you have nothing. You're you're on a deserted island until whoever they are come and fix it.
Right, but that's okay, because you're protecting and saving the world and the environment. And even though we're only 0.4% of the emissions, and China's 29%, and they're going to be warm and toasty with their coal plant generation and 29% of their emissions.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about this. We got to take another short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Our water's better tasting, it's better for the planet.
That's great, sir. Can I take your order?
Oh, number 3.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install our drinking water and softening systems, we're thinking about filtering contaminants and the minerals that make water hard. So you can just think about softer, cleaner, better tasting water. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Is your closet cramped and cluttered? Is it impossible to find that shirt to wear and then even harder to fit it back in there? Not anymore. Introducing Space Triangles, the clever new hanging device that fits over any hanger to save you closet space in seconds. And now may be your last chance to get them for a low price. Now you can vertically hang multiple items, guaranteeing that you'll have up to 70% more space in your closet. Watch, your closet can go from messy to marvelous in no time with ease. And just look at all that extra space. Just place space triangles on each hanger and start hanging your clothing one after another, piece by piece. Daisy chain up to 6 shirts or more. The lower you go, the more closet space that'll show. The secret is the ingenious slip-over design that secures the hangers in a perfect vertical position.
This is hands down the easiest way to get more closet space. It took me just a few minutes to completely transform my closet, and now I can go shopping again.
It snugly fits all types of hangers, from plastic to wood to metal and velvet, and works with any type of clothing, from shirts and blouses to slacks and jeans, or designer dresses and big heavy suits. Stop searching through clutter for the right outfit. Now you can build an outfit and group it together, so it's easy to find. Even hang purses, belts, and more. Just slide the space triangles onto any hanger and start hanging. You'll instantly create closet space like never before. Order now to get an 18-piece set of space triangles for just $9.99. But wait, due to rising costs and supply chain shortages, this may be your last chance to get space triangles at this low price. But you must act fast. There is a strict limit of 1 closet pack per order while supplies last. Once they're gone forever. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-957-1518. That's 1-800-957-1518. Call or visit spacetriangles.com. So call 1-800-957-1518. Order now.
are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and you're watching Big Fox. We're being joined by Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. Okay, Phil, we want to get back into energy policy, but I received this from a viewer, and I'm just going to paraphrase real quickly, that everybody's blaming their bills, their high bills this time of year on NYSEG, but it seems to be more so bad government policies that are leading to these costs.
Well, I agree, because I mean, obviously they have to meet these mandates of this clean, so-called clean green energy. And for the watcher, your energy bill is composed of two parts. I mean, you might know this, but if you don't,
right?
I mean, most people just look at their total bill. When NYSEG or the utilities go to the PSC for a rate increase, they're going on the part that's the transportation and delivery charge.
Yeah.
That's to deal with your wires, your poles, improve substations, things of that nature. So that's when they go for the PSC. They come forward with a rate proposal, then it usually gets negotiated down. In NYSEG's case, they really got almost all that they asked for. And you're seeing that with some of the other utilities, but it's the mandate that's coming on. The thing that's hypocritical to me is I have a colleague in another community, I won't specifically mention them, who wrote a letter blasting to the governor, blasting the NYSEG rate increase, which I can understand being upset about.
Sure.
And Governor Hochul came out, up in arms about it. But where were they when the PSC approved $43 billion in future rate increases to pay for the Green New Deal?
Yeah.
For their policies, they're quiet. And the fact of the matter is that because it's that one bill, what they're talking about with the NYSEG bill is for one part of your bill, probably about the transportation delivery can be up to 50% of your bill. Then there's the supply side, which is it goes through the marketplace, and then there's taxes, fees, and assessment. Taxes, fees, and assessment represent about 20 to 25% of your bill, and then the supply usually is around 25 to 30%, given the numbers. And what they're doing on the supply side, I questioned the Public Service Commission chairman during a hearing. They're taking these programs and they're basically socializing it to all the ratepayers. I mentioned earlier about the Champlain Hudson Express line to bring power to New York City and to take power from upstate New York renewables and through the transmission down to New York City and the offshore wind. They're subsidizing that with all ratepayers. So we're paying that for upstate New York to bring the power downstate. Yeah. So how is that fair or right?
Typical.
So I mean that's where this is going with these policies. So yes, it's the policies. I mean, the utilities. I'm not giving the utilities a clean pass on this.
No, of course.
But their goal is to provide reliable energy and make sure the systems, so they can do the tree trimming. Because I also sat through a 14-hour hearing when there were power outages we did for energy. And they're talking about the downstate and they, going after these utility companies because they couldn't get the power on back quick enough because they had trees down and they can't do some of the infrastructure they need to do because they have to go to the state for the rate increases to deal with those things. So it's problematic.
And then I know we were going to talk about just the costs in general. We've kind of been touching on it all, but where are some other places that we're going to be affected?
Well, I mean, I think property taxes for one. First of all, our generators in New York State right now pay $1.7 billion in property taxes annually. If they go offline, that's going to be a hurt burden to our property taxpayers. The other thing is our utilities. Like Corning Natural Gas, they pay property taxes on the gas that goes through their pipes. If gas isn't permitted to go through their pipes, you're going to depreciate that asset.
That's a good point.
That property tax burden doesn't go away. It just gets shifted to everyone else. So that's one big thing I see. The other area that's really you're seeing everywhere you go when you drive around here is land use. You see solar farms, solar. I'm not going to call them farms. Projects. Wind projects going up all over the community, and they take up a great deal of land use. And let's specifically just talk about solar for a minute, because the Climate Action Council plan, they need more solar. They talked about wanting to put additional 60 gigawatts of solar. 60 gigawatts, remember? For 1 acre, for 1 megawatt of solar requires up to 8 acres of land. So now let's talk about 60 gigawatts. You're talking about 480,000 acres of land to meet that goal. Now, where's that land going to come from? It's going to come from upstate New York.
Yes,
they don't have the land in New York City. They're not going to be able to implement rooftops. They're going to look to us. So they're looking for us for the transmission. They're looking for us for the generation of the wind projects. And you see it.
It's typical.
You see the other areas with the wind projects. They take away total local control and local input on siting wind and solar projects. It's basically they have this new program through the state called ORIS that basically to fast track these projects. So a local community can't say we don't want wind, we don't want solar. Well, you're going to have to. Too bad. And you can't have a voice on the committee. They used to have at least a town board member or a county member on the committee that had a voice with the other 5 members of the sitting board. They got rid of the sitting board process in Article 10 and basically went to this process or to speed line the process, and that's kind of cute. That's kind of frustrating to me. So the land use issues and taking away the home rule, local control, and also they changed the evaluation assessments models for wind and solar, and that's going to basically has the opportunity to really hurt our local communities, and they can just petition the state to go through this other process, because right now a lot of our wind and solar projects our wind projects especially are done through pilot agreements to put money into the school districts, the money into local communities. The idea is to negotiate those rates, but if these developers didn't like it, they could try to go the different route through the valuation assessment program and basically shortchange the local community. So not only are they not going to have a say if they're going to have wind and solar, now they're going to get shortchanged. They could possibly get shortchanged on the financial end of it, and not get the tax revenue on top of it.
I also want to talk, and I think this is something that's overlooked, but you've been talking about it a lot, and I appreciate that, it's the issue with electric vehicles. We've talked about what it's going to cost us and like that, but what it really costs us as a world. Talking about green energy and how we're trying to save the world. Think of what these batteries and what this is actually doing. It's almost as if we want to look like we're doing something good here, never mind what's happening on the back end and what some of the horrible human rights violations that are happening.
Well, Frank, I'm glad you asked that question, because a lot of people don't realize this.
Exactly.
First of all, and I say this policy, the green's not green.
No.
I think it's going to cost you is green tax dollars and ratepayer increase. But the policy isn't green. First of all, for these electric vehicles, the batteries that are made, they need elements to produce the battery, lithium-ion batteries, cobalt. Let's take cobalt for as lithium. Cobalt, 70% of the cobalt is extracted in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It is well documented that they use child labor. Some people as young as 6 years old, and they go into what they refer to as artesian mines, and they hand mine in these mines for cobalt. And then what happens? These mines have collapsed on top of individuals, burying them alive, crippling them, losing their legs, being permanently maimed. This is happening. I brought up to Albany some individuals from the Congo, an individual who was filing a lawsuit with the human rights about this issue. Talk about that. My colleagues want to put their head in the sand about the issue. I mean, child labor.
I know. It's completely ignored. I mean, that's what, and this kind of ties in, and we're nearly out of time, and I want to get back onto that, but it ties in with a question that someone asked earlier when you were coming on the program, and it's how do we get these messages out? Because that is something that's completely overlooked at a time when everybody is, quote unquote woke, right? That's the term that's being used. But the people that are pushing these policies are ignoring human rights violations.
Well, I think what it is, as long as children aren't dying and being maimed here in the U.S. or in New York, they look the other way. As long as water, river, and streams aren't being poisoned here in New York or in the country, they look the other way. Exactly. There's environmental impacts that are happening with the water, stream, and rivers that are being poisoned over there from the mine. The lithium that has radioactive material, that's all poisoning these African countries. So we're basically
bearing our heads
meeting our so-called clean energy goals on the backs of child labor, slave labor in China, of course, as well. And it's very, very problematic. And people want to put their head in the sand. I brought this up to Commissioner Sagos at a hearing. He goes, "Yeah, I think about that all the time when I get in my vehicle." And he goes, "But it's up to the federal government to lead." They all want to say it's the federal government's responsibility. But when I bring up the 0.4%, they say, "Well, we're going to lead. We're going to lead." But I switch to this. Well, it's the federal government.
No longer leading.
It's hypocritical.
And the media likes the end game. They like the green energy, right? Because we know the bias in the media, so they don't want to report on this either. Because it would be a scandal at every level if they actually did the report. And the problem is, you might see someone like we mentioned earlier, New York Post or something like that, cover this, but that's not. And I think to this person's frustration, and I get it. It's with all politics. They're not going to cover what they don't want, and that drives us crazy because this should be on the front page of the paper.
Right. I mean, I'll give you another example. They should be because it's human rights violations.
Exactly.
I mean, there are advocates out there that talk about this. I won't mention name. Why aren't they talking about that? It's okay to meet these goals as long as it's end game. I mean, even when we call for a cost-benefit benefit analysis of this plan, saying we need to do it. If it's so good, tell taxpayers and ratepayers what it's going to cost them. The Albany Times Union called us climate deniers and said we're trying to be obstructionists. Are you kidding me? Let the public know. And I was at a hearing and I told them the same thing. So, so child labor, slave labor, environmental negative impacts of that is happening from these batteries, and also the fires.
The
safety
fires
issues
are crazy.
When
you see those videos,
scooters, you see them with cars, and now we could have them with school buses. I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, you saw the Felicity Ace was a cargo ship that had electric vehicles that's at the bottom of the Atlantic now because there was a big fire. These things burn out, and our fire departments aren't prepared for them.
No, they've said that.
Our volunteer departments, what are they going to do? They've told some people, just let them burn.
Pretty much all they can
just
do.
let them burn out.
Yeah.
Keep them away from people.
Yeah.
And how good is that? And now we're seeing, because you need battery storage for the solar and wind, right?
Right.
So you've seen these battery storage fields come into New York State.
Yeah.
There were 3 battery fires last year in New York State. Governor Hochul said they got some kind of commission looking at. Well, there were no damage to the atmosphere. And you saw the windmill down in Rexville last year catch on fire, spewing fiberglass all over the farms. I mean, how healthy is that? So.
No, it's all for show. And finally, because we are out of time, I want to talk about the energy security in general.
Yeah, I mean, this is really, we're turning our whole energy security policy over to China, period.
That's it.
Instead of being energy independent, using our natural gas that we have here in New York or in the U.S., basically, they want to go to solar, right? Well, number one, 80% of the solar is made and manufactured and processed in China. 80% of solar. And also, I talked about the Congo being for the extracting the cobalt, but the cobalt, the lithium, the rare earth materials, the cadmium, the nickel, all these products that you need to meet whether it's solar, wind, electric vehicles, it's all being processed through China. And what does China process it with? Coal energy. So we're turning the whole energy security over to policy. And I think this goes back to Joe Biden, too, when I bring up the 29%. I don't agree with Joe Biden on much of anything. I do agree with him on this. He said once, if China isn't a part of this, we're wasting our time. The president's right. So we've been wasting our time, and we're costing the taxpayers, our families, our farmers, our small businesses, and manufacturers, especially here in New York, a great deal. And it's very problematic.
Phil, we're out of time. That went quick. Don't you think? Thanks so much for spending time with us. I'll get you on the books because I definitely want to talk about the budget. I know you're looking forward to that next week. So we'll talk soon, okay?
That's one word.
Yeah. So join us on Monday at 7 a.m. for Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
This right here is confidence in a bottle. It makes me feel so much more confident than I've ever felt.
They are some of the hottest videos on social media. Those videos claiming to instantly get rid of bags under your eyes. Annette Figueroa is here to tell us why she says this one is for real.
This one is for real, and I'm so excited. We even have a video, and all he uses is a small amount on a clean, dry face. And what it does is it tightens and lifts the appearance of bags underneath your eyes. And I did this to my father. We were at home.